All right. I am apparently live now. Finally. All right. Howdy, folks. Welcome to Tuesday's Tips. Um, Today, wanted to do food photography, so we're trying something a little different here. Downloaded this app that's allowing me to put my picture up here in the corner, so that way you guys can still see me, but I can show you these images that I wanted to share with you. Unfortunately, since I'm sharing my screen with you, you can tell that I can't really see any comments that are being made. So I will be bouncing back over here periodically to check to see if there's any comments. So welcome to Tuesday's Tips, and today we're going to be talking about food photography. And couple of things, I just wanted to share some of the examples with it. This is actually one of my favorite types of photography to do. Now, there's a couple of different types of food photography. One of the big types of food photography is, of course, commercial food photography. And when you're doing that kind of food photography, the food is not real. It is not set up to be eaten. It is done as a prop in a way. You can find all kinds of videos online. I'll show you some of the behind the scenes tricks that they use. Like how do you make a bowl of soup look like so much is in it? Well, they put marbles, glass marbles in the bottom of the bowl, and then they fill it up so that way all the toppings, all the ingredients in the soup tend to be more toward the top because they're being held up by the marbles. So, that kind of thing. A lot of times when people are doing these stylized photos of things, it's not really edible because to use the real ingredients wouldn't look as appetizing as what you're trying to make it look like. Pancakes. You pour syrup on pancakes. The pancakes tend to absorb it real quick, so they use something different. Sometimes they'll use motor oil or something like that, which has the right color and everything, but it has this richer consistency, so it allows it to behave the way they want it to. But that's not the kind of food photography I'm talking about right here. That's commercial food photography. What I'm talking about is food photography, sharing food, and then also what I would do for restaurants if I was to help them showcase their items. So what we have here on the screen is the lasagna stuffed garlic bread that we made for a Foodie Friday a couple of weeks ago. And I had it set up to where the cheese is nice and melted. You got an angle here. You can see the angle on the garlic bread. You got the toppings oozing out here. It's all kind of got a glossy look to it because, it was coated in oil and everything with it. So it's got this really nice, appetizing look to it. And you'll notice that this is at a relatively low angle. More on that later. All right, this is a top-down shot of when I was carving up the turkey. I see a lot of people use this angle for when they're doing their, photos of plates, rather than coming in at a horizontal. These are just some examples that I took. Now, I kind of like this one out of the four because you have the carving tools right there. You got the juiciness of the meat on the knife, so kind of really like that one. Here's what I was talking about by a top-down image. It shows everything that's on the plate, but to me this works better. And this is one of the things that I really try to focus on in my food photography. Let's go back over here, check real quick. Nope. Okay. And one of the things I try to focus in on my food photography is I want to try to catch it at an angle that is similar to what a person's going to be looking at it when the food is set in front of them. Now, I did craft this plating a bit. I had everything separated, so it wasn't all flipping flopping on top of each other. I made sure to put a nice uh, dent in the potatoes, so that way I could put my gravy in there and have it floating in there. And then I took a pat of butter and just chucked it in there and let it sit for a little bit while it was hot, so that it would start to melt and it would give you this look. So things that I'm noticing now, I should have cleaned the edge of the plate a little bit right here. But all in all, I'm pretty happy with this shot. Maybe push the plate back a little bit so that way it's not getting clipped off in the bottom down here. Another where I'm showing it, where you've got the beans and the turkey is the front and center of it. The turkey and the mashed potatoes. So that's one of the big things that I wanted to show is these kind of things to me are more interesting than this. And I see a lot of people in a restaurant, they'll stand up and they'll take a picture, top down on it. Unless you're trying to get a whole table spread in, you and your friends, and you want to get all of the plates that you guys are having together, doing that top-down shot to me just really doesn't have the same appeal as doing these kind of on-edge shots. All right. Now, these are some of the images that I did when I was at the Art Institute. And again, I wanted to showcase some of the lighting that I used, and I wanted to, kind of give you an idea of some of what else you can do with food photography. This was a centerpiece that they had at the Red Restaurant there at the Art Institute. I really liked it. I liked the difference in the color tone. I liked the lighting. Loved the wood tables there. I really loved this, where they'd use the different types of pastas in a layer to create the centerpiece. Now, the thing I'm kind of kicking myself for on this particular image is I wish that I had paid more attention and had this slid over a little bit so that either the chair was like this on both sides or it was like this on both sides. Having it where it's cutting off this one side here and not on the other just doesn't really work. It would take, it's those little details that take an image up to the next level. I do love the little bit of the highlighting and stuff on the glass container. But by the way, this is a really simple idea. Pasta doesn't cost that much, and you can throw together these kind of things in a mason jar and have them for centerpieces if you wanted. This was when we were doing studio work, food photography. Some simple sandwich, baguettes in a basket. Things that I'm looking at now, the tag. Should have been paying attention to that tag right here. Now, this particular series here with the rolls and the sliced bread in the beginning, I really like. This, I think, is my favorite one because it's just got the gloss and the fading out and the depth of field of the sliced bread, and then you got the different rolls in the background in the soft focus and bokeh out. Oh yeah, Low Country Boil from the Red. Oh, let me tell you, that was one of my favorite things about going to the Art Institute, was working with those culinary students. They made some awesome food, and I got to take pictures of it, and I got to try it a lot of times too. So I mean, hey. Now, this is a little different than a lot of other ones that you'll see in the kitchen. Normally, when you have these kind of dishes set up, where is your point of focus? Your point of focus is at the dish toward the very front down here. Whereas I put my point of focus back here on the back edge of that plate, so that way the hand and this was what was in sharper focus. So you had this in real sharp focus, showing you what exactly they were going for. You had them in the process, but a little softer focus. And then you had this for the depth. And I personally think that this shot worked really well. Action shot of when they were cooking up some kind of meat there, and had a whoosh. Had to get the shot to fire. Carving up the steaks. This was a ceviche with fried plantains. It was pretty good. But you'll notice that, and this series here was all done with my my Sony camera, so it's going to be doing things a lot different than what you can do with your cell phone. Well, than what you can do with your cell phone, unless you're shooting it on manual mode and you're actually forcing depth of field and certain other things like that. You could probably achieve something similar to this using the portrait mode on your cell phone, where it'll focus in on the object in the front and blur out the stuff in the background for you. Bruschetta with heirloom tomatoes, also very tasty. This was a salad that was done up in a roasted pepper with a raspberry vinaigrette. It was just phenomenal. Also very pretty to look at. Sorry. Here is one of the desserts. Nice plated dish. Now, you'll notice that these are kind of tight shots, and they're set up so that way the background is blurred and you're focusing in what it is that you're really wanting to highlight. Now here, the depth of field was set up in such, you'll notice the lighting is almost identical to this one as far as the intensity, the coloring, and everything else. But the depth of field was done as such that it allowed everything from the front edge of the cutting board all the way back to those metal chalices to be in focus. Whereas with this, the setup was done where the focus fell off rather quickly, so that way you had this other stuff that was in the background that was done to be blurry. Check to see if we got any comments. Nope. That's okay. So that's kind of what I wanted to share with you guys. One of the biggest things is that you want to make sure that you've got a decent lighting on it. For food photography, I really discourage using the on-camera flash, especially if you're using from a cell phone, because it can be kind of harsh and it's coming straight in at it. Having the light coming from sides, to me, would make the image more interesting. Another aspect is, keep in mind, how are you wanting to show this? Are you wanting to show a table full of food? That'll change how you're trying to do different things. If you're wanting to show this is the appetizing plate that I'm about to eat, having that perspective that is similar to what you are going to be seeing as you are looking at it from the table, not necessarily on top of it where the plate's right here, but the plates, if your table's right about here, having that look to where you're coming in at about 45 to 30 degrees is going to be, in my opinion, a much more appealing and dramatic image versus the straight top down. I am looking, you're looking at the plate. Plate is a perfect circle. Everything's there. It all depends. I mean, it really does depend. For restaurants with really super elegant plating, or if you've gone to the effort of doing the plating and everything else, and you've got this really, you've laid out the slices of meat just so, and that kind of a thing, then yeah, you do take a top-down shot to show that. But I still also encourage you to get that lower angle shot, because it's been my experience that the food photography that I've done where they've been at that kind of level, like those, have had a lot more attention. So that is the two. Whoa, hello, give me that back. Hello. Oh, yeah. That's what's going on. I'm still learning how to use this new little tool. Not sure how much, if I'm going to keep using it or not. This little circle thing that I've got here that's doing my image while I was sharing my screen is from loom.com. I was trying to figure out a way that I could share screen and allow you guys to see me, so it wasn't just this whole, me talking and you disembodied voice kind of thing going on. It required a little bit of tricky setting up, which is part of the reason that I started about 10-15 minutes late. I thought I had it figured out, but apparently I didn't. No big deal. But that's my suggestions with food photography, and I'd love to see you guys share some images that you've taken of food that you really like. Share it in the comments. Make us all hungry. Show us the yumminess. And I'm looking at a couple of my friends that I know that are culinary, because I met them when they were culinary students. They're culinary artisans. I'm looking at you. I want to see some food. No kidding. Well, that's going to be wrapping it up for today. Tomorrow I will be joined by a friend of mine, and we're going to be talking about something called R3. Over the past year, I have made some great progress in combating my diabetes. And I'm at the next level now where the biggest thing I need to do now is lose about 75 pounds. And half of that battle is going to be won in the kitchen. So we're going to be making some changes in my diet. Jessica's on board with this too. And the biggest thing is it's not just about the weight loss. It's about resetting my metabolism. It's about encouraging healthier choices and planning accordingly. So my friend Sabrina will be joining me tomorrow at noon for a Wellness Wednesday, and we'll be talking about R3. And by the way, there is an R3 challenge coming up that starts in January, and that's what I'm going to be signing up for, that R3 challenge. And it's 6 weeks, and we're going to see how much of a difference I can make in my health in 6 weeks. And you'll be seeing a lot of different food photography with the stuff from the R3 challenge. So until next time, folks, peace, love, and photography. And remember, everything can make a beautiful image, including you. Bye.